A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. I'm starting with this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt because this is how I see all women and couples going through this journey called fertility. And the reason why I say this is, gosh, you're watching this, so I know you did not expect to be here, but you are. And sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this anymore. But you do. Literally, like that tea bag. You had no idea that it was within you. I'm Mary Wong, and I'm the best-selling author of Pathways to Pregnancy. I'm the director of one of North America's leading wellness clinics in downtown Toronto called Alive Holistic Health Clinic. And I'm an acupuncturist for nearly 3 decades. And I'm your fertility and life strategist. And I am so super honored to be here. And today we're going to talk about you are not your diagnosis. And let's look at decoding it and what you can do about it. And let's transform it and overcome your fertility challenges. And before I go dive deep, I just want you to know that you got to stick around and not miss the end of the talk, because at the end, we are going to give you an opportunity to win a free virtual consult with me, and you'll get the details at the end. So on with our show. And, well, not a show, this talk. I've done lots of talks all over the world, and this is one of my favorite topics. And this is an expo, so you get privy and lots of information on lots and lots of things to do. And I just mentioned that I'm an acupuncturist. So what I do is acupuncture and help people with herbal medicine, acupuncture, but that's not what I want to talk to you about today. Because what I think happens is you might even get overwhelmed, or maybe you like getting a gazillion amounts of information and more to do on your to-do list. But I don't want to go there. I don't want to contribute to that, because really what I'm here for, what I want to do is that I want to have you know that what you believe or what you think may not be the truth and should not be carved in stone. And again, I will go into this deeper in a second, but so what I want you to do is to focus not only on what you're doing, which may be a lot for some of you who are looking at what next to do, what more can you do to try to conceive. But I want you to walk away after this feeling a little bit more recharged, feeling a little bit more strength and to move on down this journey and be a little bit more hopeful. Because I want you to come out of here not just to persevere this journey, but really thrive as you go through this journey. And that might be mind-boggling to some. So let's start with this. Let's start with the word infertility. How do you feel about it? Are you owning it like this is your truth? Because I'll tell you, I personally went through infertility challenges, and I actually don't believe in the word in of itself at all. I believe that I was challenged through the fertility experience. But to me, the word infertility signifies that it's a permanent thing. Something that you own like it's part of who you are. And that is not what this is. The definition of infertility is the inability to conceive naturally within a 1-year time frame. So let me ask you, if you actually conceive with or without help, and within, or after a year mark, if you're 11 months and you're not considered infertile, but yet 13 months and you conceive, are you still considered infertile? Heck no. Right? So even those of you who conceive, and actually this does happen, I've seen women conceive after like 3 failed IVFs and they conceive naturally. Does that mean they're infertile? So I asked you this because I want to challenge you in the way you think and the way you believe. Because I'll tell you, when you go to that fertility clinic and you meet with that doctor in his white lab coat or her white lab coat, whatever comes out of your mouth, you may take it like it's the truth and it's like a death sentence. Because when they tell you that you have PCOS or endometriosis or advanced maternal age or poor ovarian reserve or low AMH and high FSH, all those kinds of parameters, you make it mean like it is a death sentence, like a penalty that it can never change. And yet I've been around for nearly 3 decades and I've seen people overcome this. And so to me, it's like, well, can we look at it from a different point of view and say, hey, this is the starting point. This is where we're at right this moment. And this is not who I am. This is what's happening in the moment. Because I have seen women's FSH go down, AMH go up. I've had people get pregnant when the doctors have said, you will never get pregnant on your own. So it makes me rethink about what this all means for you as you traverse this difficult journey. And so I want to be here to tell you, like, hey, listen, don't listen so intensely on what the doctor is saying. And it's difficult, I know. But they come at it from a very different perspective. So I told you I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. So the premise is that we look for what's serving you. We look to achieve balance, because when our body and our health is in balance, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, then our bodies and our spirit is more aligned to create life. And that's what I mean by not having it be a state of permanence. Does that make sense? And so unlike Western medicine is pathology based. So when you go to a fertility clinic, they're always looking for what is wrong. And that's not bad or wrong, but the perspective is so different. And they come at it from a statistical point of view. And they look at you in terms of where you fit on that bell curve figure. And what I say is, you are not a bell curve figure. You are your own unique individual self. And let's explore how we get you back into balance. And that might include things that you will do that you have learned today and tomorrow that others are imparting their wisdom towards you. Sure, it may include lifestyle and dietary changes, but let's not forget how we be in the journey. So instead of just adding more things to do on your list of to-dos, which might actually increase overwhelm and increase stress for some of you, let's have you do the things that you're already doing that are good for you in a different way. Let it be more empowering. Let you be doing it more mindfully and fully being in that process. Because I'll tell you, if you're literally trying to do everything from out of the sun, and I check in or you check in with yourself and you're finding yourself stressed and overwhelmed, then I say we're not even near or be close to balanced. And when we're not as aligned, then how is your body going to support and create life? Your body is there to protect you. It loves you. It wants to help you. We are wired by nature to be protected. So when a lion chases an animal in the wild, they do not go into heat. They don't have sex. The body spontaneously goes into the survival mode and it runs. You don't have to sit there and think, should I run? It just goes. So now bring it back to us in our fertility journey and the journey of our lives with, gosh, like for many of you, it's just one piece of the puzzle of stress, because there's other layers of stress that are within your life currently, like aging parents, or you are moving, and heck, Let's not forget that we're in the middle of a pandemic. So there's a lot coming at us. And it's not that we want to say, gosh, let's get rid of every stress, because it's impossible. There's a lot of things that we cannot control. However, in order for us to get out of that stress response, because the lines of our lives can be our stress, and then by the lines of our lives, our body goes into that protective, helping mode where it says, you know what? You can try to conceive, but I'm not listening, because I need to recharge. I need to quieten down. I'm going to have a nap because I'm a little tired, right? And yet your mind is like, no, let's go. It's go time. I'm like, oh, wait, I have my ovulation predictor kit is showing me that it is time. So we're going to do it, whether you like it or not. And your body's going to say, you do what you want, but I'm not listening. That's it. I'm done. So how are you being with your body? Are you listening? So I might be going off in a tangent here, but all that to say is that instead of thinking of what your diagnosis is, and by the way, it's not even a diagnosis. It's like things they say like, oh, gee, you are at an advanced maternal age, or gosh, you'll have a geriatric pregnancy when you're going through this, or you have PCOS, you have endometriosis. And so the question for yourself is like, where are you at with all that? How does it make you feel? Probably not very good. And it certainly doesn't help that you start creating stories around, oh my God, now I can't get pregnant because I have too many things going on. I have too many challenges. So there's a whole thing called neuroplasticity. And it's a neuroscience where we look at brain function and the neural pathways that go along with this. And what we know is that there is such a thing as neuroplasticity. So what we think through our brain can be positive or negative, and it creates neural pathways towards a specific outcome in a physiological way. So what that means is, let's look more closely. If you say, I am infertile, I have PCOS, and I can't have a baby. If we tell ourselves this story over and over again, you're going to carve out a specific neurological pathway, and the body kind of follows that, and it'll behave in that way. So again, it's not right or wrong, but we don't want to veer towards that way. Let's carve out a new neurological pathway, because our brain is neuroplastic, meaning that it is pliable, and it, before the day we die, it is still plastic, it is flexible, it can change. And how can it change? Through our belief system, through our mindset. So let's have you revisit this in a very different way. And how that is, well, how can I, and you know what? Some of you guys might be doing this. It's, okay, fine. I have infertility right now. I have, not I am. Okay, so don't own it like you are it. Just have it in the moment. Just like the emotions when you say, oh, I am angry or I am frustrated. I want you to reword and say, in this moment, I feel angry. In this moment, I feel sad. In this moment, I feel fearful, worried, all the rest of it. Because you have the right to do that. But it does not own you, and you should not be defined by how you feel. It's a moment of time. So you're allowed to feel however you feel. In fact, I encourage you to feel however you feel and be authentic with whatever your diagnosis is, or even lack thereof. Some people are frustrated by the word unexplained infertility. And if you're in that place, just know that whatever the label is, let's not own it. Let's just not look at it and go, oh, okay, fine, this is a starting point. So for example, it's unexplained, but let's look at my body. Let's look at my menstrual cycle. What symptoms are there? Am I in full balance, both physically, mentally, emotionally? oh, okay, well, my periods, gosh, it's not fully regular, and maybe I have some pain. Well, maybe we can help that. And what do? Well, one of the things is like an anti-inflammatory diet, right? So having choice around it, to know that there's action that you can take to help move you so out of that space of challenged place. So even for someone like, for example, with PCOS, so yes, it's a label and you can have it for life. But here's the thing. You can have PCOS with the parameters that is associated with having this condition. However, a lot of the parameters can shift by sheer taking a different way of life, meaning like changing your diet, decreasing inflammatory foods, stopping sugar and dairy, and then also exercising is helpful. Or perhaps if we just create the momentum of change by losing even like 5% of the body weight, all of a sudden your body behaves differently. Your menstrual cycle comes back. And so all that to say, again, is that whatever your label is, don't own it like it's you, who you are, because it's not. It does not define you. It does not have to direct your life, but I'll tell you, most oftentimes, people are living their life like this is it. And just because I never say, and in fact, anybody that consults with me, my first thing to say is, I guarantee you nothing. And yet I've been around for so long, and I see the miracles of life that come through these beings that have been told that it has been impossible, to have me be very clear that whatever your doctors say does not dictate how things will go. And I know that there's a lot of that storytelling that you have been telling yourselves as the truth. And now today, I want this to be an opportunity for you to rewrite your story. Create a different way. And I'm not saying like be so outlandish, because of course we don't know what's to come. But is the overarching goal, and are you in a place of I will have a child? Because if you're in that place, be willing to be open as to how this child will show up, because they're already not showing up the way you had intended it to be. My vision was, gosh, like I would have had our child or conceived our child on our honeymoon in Beijing, China. And the hotel was called Raffles. And we were making a joke, boy, if we conceive our child through this hotel room, then we're going to name this kid Raffles. Well, thankfully, it wasn't that. But of course, I was traumatized that our journey has been 5 years before we conceived our child. And I will speak to this. I don't want to take too much of this time to share my story. And if you want to visit that, really check it out tomorrow. I invite you to do so. And I did write the book, Pathways to Pregnancy. So it's actually in this book anyway. So there's 15 stories of hope, one of which is my own. So check it out, because it was a journey. It wasn't like a walk in the park. It wasn't a piece of cake. But I'm here because I know that you can persevere, and that there are different pathways to how your outcome will be. And one word of advice here is that let's not look at this journey as a baby project, meaning it's not work. I don't want you to work so hard. In fact, I want you to do the opposite. And instead of focusing on all the things that you need to do to try to be that perfect fertile woman or person, I want you to consider that we are perfectly imperfect and you're doing your best and you're grateful for how you're being right now. And let's just take one foot in front of the other, left foot, right foot, and don't think too far ahead, because what will happen? You get overwhelmed because you're already not there. Or the other pace is people find it stressful because as you go through life and traversing this journey, like driving a car, for those of you that drive, or maybe a bicycle, in order to successfully drive or ride a bike, you need to face forward. You need to look ahead from this present moment to the future. Yes, we glance backwards. Yes, perhaps you've had one IVF or two IVFs or one IUI or whatever, and it has failed. But don't let it claim you like you are a failure. Do not own it like it is you. And instead of staring at the past through that rearview mirror, which you need to check, right? We acknowledge and we honor our past. But we can't drive like this, can we? How can we go forward when we're just staying backward? So I invite you to go from this present moment, create a future that you want, but not overwhelming yourself by saying, oh, I have to be pregnant and have a kid by the age of 40, 41, 35, whatever it is for you. Oh, I need to have a baby for the honor of my parents' family. Like, stop it. Just stop it. Let's just meet in the present moment and be kind to you right now. Self-care is self-love. And this is what we would need to honor right now. I want to read you a quote here. The art of life lies in a constant readjustment to our surroundings. This exemplifies our fertility journey. My experience going through is that typically the more interventions you have, the more expectations you have that you're going to have a successful pregnancy to term. And for those of you who have had multiple failed IVFs or even negative pregnancies with the pregnancy pea stick, we need to readjust to what we see. Just because it says no, it doesn't mean no forever. It means no right now. And let's reinvent. And instead of saying and owning a failed IVF as your own responsibility, like you failed in life and as a human being or as a woman or as a man, just know that that's not what exemplifies you. You are whole and complete as you are and deserving. We just need to know this by treating ourselves well so that we become whole and complete. And by that force of nature, your body and mind and spirit is aligned to allow life to come through you. One last thing before I go. The Nocebo Effect. The Nocebo Effect is the opposite of placebo effect. And if you know this, the placebo effect is when you take like something like a sugar pill and let's say it's Tylenol or ibuprofen to help a headache. Well, they have seen in studies that people that take a sugar pill, a placebo, can have you diminish your headache. Well, oppositely, in this topic that we're talking about, the nocebo effect, the negative impact of words that someone say, which includes especially so people of authority like your physician, if they say, oh gosh, it's impossible, or you have this, or oh, you have a failed cycle, or you're not a good responder, well, don't own it like it's who you are. Just know that because they just say it once and you own it like, oh my God, this is the truth and I'm a failure. And what I say is like, no, heck no, or kale no, because we're eating a lot of kale these days. Kale no. It's not who you are. failed IVF or a failed cycle or a negative pregnancy test does not equate to who you are as a human being. There are so many ins and outs to the process. Perhaps the drugs didn't serve you. Perhaps and I've seen this, perhaps they did not take out the eggs at the right time, right? The retrieval time. It's an art, it's a science. There's so many moving parts. Don't own it like it's your responsibility. Please don't. Because that causes that nocebo effect. And that nocebo effect will have an impact on your physiology. And that physiology will get you in that state of panic. And that state of panic will have your body say, no, not right now. So all of a sudden, your hypothalamus to pituitary to your ovarian connection is a little off. So how well will you conceive in that moment? Not so much. So what can you say to yourself? So I'm going to leave you with this. How can you feel better about yourself? What can you be speaking to? What can you tell yourself? What new story can you create for yourself? So you might want to write this down. So instead of owning whatever you say, or when you go to your doctor next, just sit there and say, what is he or she how is this doctor going to trigger me today? What is he going to say that will trigger me? Write that down. And then say to yourself, well, what can I tell myself so that I am not going to believe it like it is a death sentence? So it could be something like, these are just his thoughts and opinions, and he's basing it on his toolbox. And by the way, so some women will go in and it's like, oh gosh, your lining is horrific, and I think you just need a surrogate. Or, gosh, you're just too old and I think you need a donor egg. Well, don't take that as like God's words. It's an opinion. It's not fact. So then you go back and say, if this is the case where my eggs are seemingly not as optimal and my uterine lining is not as optimal, then how can I help myself in this? And by the way, know that follicular genesis, the development of an egg from a germ cell to that ovulating egg, takes 120 days. So you have a bit of time between now and like 4 months from now to help yourself set up so that you can change, create better eggs. Because I've seen it. This talk has become way too long, so I think I'm going to sign off. So please, I hope this served you. I know that you can do this. You are loved, you are honored, and you are persevering, and you're going to thrive. So as I mentioned, please follow me at Meet Mary Wong on Instagram and take a screenshot of it, and then DM me at Meet Mary Wong on Instagram. And from that, I will consider and like do a little raffle or whatever you call it, a draw. And I'll pick one lucky winner, and you're going to have a 30-minute free consult with me. And I'll draw this, in the next 2 weeks after the expo. And I look forward to meeting you all. And if you don't have a copy of my book, which has been touted as the chicken soup for your pregnancy soul. So if you haven't had the copy, you can get it. And if you live international, don't worry. I have it on an Audible format. So it's in my voice, and it's actually updated from when I originally wrote it. So it'll be awesome. So check that out. And for your entertainment pleasure, you can totally binge watch my fertility talks, which is free. And you can also find that through my link tree on my Instagram account. So with that, I'll hope to see you tomorrow as I speak to you about my story. Take care. Bye for now.